Shocking U-turns exposed. PM Starmer's island of strangers, regret and pensioner fuel cuts spark outrage. On GB News Great British Debate, host clashes with Fahheima Muhammad. Brutal admission, I can't think of one good Labour policy. This government is an utter disgrace. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated.
Well, joining me now, political commentator and broadcaster Fahheima Muhammad, and she's in the studio. Fahheima, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Right, Fahheima, your thoughts, come on. He's backtracked 3, he's done a hat-trick of U-turns, and the 4th was one which wasn't a policy-related one, but now, even the speech that he made, he didn't really mean it, he didn't write it, it doesn't sound like he read it beforehand.
I think everyone U-turns when it comes to politics. It's nothing that is imaginable, to be honest.
Within a year, though?
It doesn't matter. Look at reform. Nigel Farage himself U-turn on smoking ban. Even being, standing for MP, we've got, Rishi Sunak U-turn on green policies and tax cuts. We've got Boris Johnson with lockdowns and with pressure from Marcus Rashfield as well when it comes to meals. And Liz Truss, famous U-turn on almost the entire economic policy in 2022. Now, when it comes to this particular U-turn of the island of strangers, I think it's listening to the public and actually not associating with xenophobic narratives. And I think it's right, and it is leadership to actually correct their mistakes and continue to listen and actually, correct themselves. I don't see it being a problem. Like him or loathe him, that is what leadership does.
But he hasn't got anything right, though. I mean, look, winter fuel allowance, I could have told him that don't take money from pensioners. That's quite obvious.
But like you said, it's only a year.
No, yeah, exactly, which is very worrying. So I literally like if it's only been just under a year, and he's 3 main policy areas, 2 of which he didn't mention in the manifesto. So winter fuel allowance, didn't mention it. Turns out we didn't like it, because had he mentioned it, he may not have got in with such a massive majority. What was the other one? There's been so many. The grooming gangs national inquiry, obvious to me, probably obvious to you.
That is a good thing.
Let me just say, but it's obvious. These are obvious things. It's obvious to me that you need a national inquiry. Why he even went forward and why they even pushed that through makes no sense to me. So these things, he's not even U-turning on things that, there's a real sort of, he's U-turning on things that the general public are completely against from the beginning.
I understand that, but certain things come up and change happens. And public opinion also is something that we need to understand, that when they are voting for certain parties, their policies are there just to sell. It's literally a lost leader, like in a business. But when it comes to it, you're actually selling goods that is totally different. You go to any sales and you go in there, it's all last year's goods.
Yeah, but if I went to a shop and bought something and they told me it would do this, that and the other, and it didn't, I would take it back. I would say you lied to me.
Fair enough.
You said
That's
it would do this and the other.
for you.
Yeah, well, if it's politics, it should, in this short period of time.
And it's not just him.
With these people. Yeah, but look, it's not even been a year, and every single U-turn was
So we need to give
obvious.
it more time.
No,
we need
no
to
more
give
time.
it more time.
No, absolutely
in order
no more.
for it to actually take on a government that has been, really, really done damage for the last 14 years, and just to turn it around in the next, a year or so, is also not
All right,
fair.
give me one really good policy that they've made, the Labour government, since they've been in.
Like I said before, I'm no fan of any party now.
No, but just give
I'm
me one.
Greens
Okay, no.
or independent.
No.
All the things that they've
Like
gone
what?
back on the fact that they are actually doing a
not the
national priming
U-turns.
of
Not the U-turns.
grooming gangs.
One good policy that they came up with that they haven't U-turned on.
I can't think of anything at the top of my head right now.
Exactly. And that's not good, because literally everything they've come up with,
But
they've
like I
gone
said, you
backwards
can
on.
say that with everyone, even with certain policies.
I can't.
Yes, you can.
No.
You can.
No.
Absolutely.
No.
Every single one has always been a negative, a right or a left for every single party. It's always been and delete information.
Nobody disagrees with that. However, that's not how this would have operated. So nobody disagrees that those who are most in need should get the money. But the way this was set up was that those most in need would have missed out on it. And that's the problem with a lot of the policies that they're bringing out. Like, for example, with the winter fuel, £11,000. That's not enough to live on. In what world could you exist where you think that, say, a pensioner who cannot work, because usually they're too old or they may be ill, to say that, if you earn £11,000, we're going to take away your heat allowance. Well, aren't you going to end up filling the NHS with people who are more ill because they're cold or because this country isn't actually that warm?
I get that.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense, absolutely.
If they came out with things that made sense, that would be fine. But they're starting off with things that don't make sense.
And came in because of COVID, and now that's disappeared. That's why it's actually trying to come back on it. And now they've realised it's not just COVID that people needs those kind of, additional investments. They actually need it throughout. So maybe they're putting policies in and then getting the reaction of people, and that U-turn is actually there to support what people are saying.
Okay, so that's
how it works.
They've had 14 years to prepare for government.
Not really.
Yes, they have. They've had.
Nobody has time to prepare for when you get there.
14 years to prepare to be in government. Whilst the Conservatives made mistake after mistake, I certainly don't support their behaviour. Labour Party have come in on a so-called change manifesto with hidden things that we were never told of, which would mean that their majority would not have been as big as it is. And now literally everything, every major policy they're announcing, they're U-turning. And we're not done, because I suspect they'll have to deal with Chagos, which again, a surrender, which was madness. Why are we paying so much money to surrender something and then rent it back? That doesn't make any sense to the British taxpayer.
I get what you're saying.
Another one.
I get what you're saying, but honestly, I think that this shows that this is more of a connection between people and the actual leadership. If they're listening, if they're turning back, if they're doing certain things to actually promote what the real big voices are, then that shows a little bit more consistency and cohesiveness between people on the ground and people that are sitting in Parliament.
I don't think it does.
When they're completely, ignoring it all.
I don't think it does. I think it's people who are scared of losing their jobs in a couple of years' time when Labour fall out of office. Because now there's a lot of Conservative MPs, ex-MPs looking for work. And I tell you right now, that's a lot of MPs now thinking, ooh, hang on a minute.
Maybe you and I should apply. But regardless...
Well, yeah, we should do, but they pay enough for what we could deliver.
Definitely. But regardless, I do feel that regardless of preparation, just like how you think you're going to be a mum until you actually give birth, then it's a totally different story.